Okay. Mm, Good morning, man. All right, so all right.
Good morning, Albeck. How you doing?
Good for you.
Good, good.
Looks like people still connecting. Um,
We can give him a minute.
it's already 8 a.m. All right. I think should start. All right. So, hello everyone. Good morning for us and good evening for Kazakhstan. So, welcome to our online meeting where we connect new learners with professionals. For those who don't know me, let me tell you about a little bit about myself. I'm Alibek Ryanbekov, 40 artist from Pittsburgh, PA, but born and raised in Jezkazgan, Kazakhstan. So several months ago, we started our online courses where we teach 3D, and also we started conducting this type of interviews, to connect like new learners, newbies with professionals from game industry, film industry, you know, worldwide, basically. And so this way, the new learners could get motivated and get some insights that can't be learned from anywhere else. Um, so our overall goal is to provide our students uh, the right skills and knowledge so they could get into the best schools in the world, and we're trying to also plant a seed of belief that think they can get into game industry, film industry, to get into big companies like Marvel in Hollywood, maybe Ubisoft. I mean, anyone can do that, so can they, right? Okay, so in today's meeting, we have Roy Bennett. He's an environment artist at Lost Boys Interactive in New Jersey. Hi, Roy.
Hey, Albeck. How you doing?
Good, good, good. So thanks for accepting our invitation and joining us today.
Yes.
So, yeah, I've known of you like since you posted your MJ's apartment, and yeah, here we are. And right now we all are excited to hear your story. And please tell us about yourself. I mean, you can do it better than anyone, right?
Yeah, my name is Roy Bennett. I live in New Jersey. My journey into 3D art was kind of random and all over the place. I started out as an IT technician. I did that career for about 10 years. And then about halfway through that, I always wanted to make video games. So I started to like look into like schools and all that other stuff to figure out what I needed to do, what kind of skills I needed to develop. At the time, I still didn't know if I wanted to be an artist at all. So I studied game design first at Full Sail University. I got my degree there. And then after that, I was still kind of like not sure what I wanted to do. So I studied for 10 weeks at CGMA for level design. After that, my instructor said, "Hey, why don't you try art?" Because of the blockouts I was doing, they said it was a lot of detail. And if I wanted to do more of that kind of stuff, environment art would probably be a good course of action. So then I looked a little bit further. I found Think Tank online because this was during COVID. So I was like, well, this is what we're all trapped at home. I might as well make the best of the time and see if environment art is for me. And after that, it just clicked. So I was like, yeah, making art, it's just so much fun. I get to tell stories and it was just everything that I was looking for, but I didn't realize until like, going through that journey. But yeah, so I'm here now. After Think Tank, MJ's apartment really blew up. I'm so like shocked still by all the attention that piece gets. But it got me the job at Lost Boys Interactive pretty quickly. And I've been doing work for Lost Boys for almost a year and a half now. It's been a lot of fun. We work on multiple projects, multiple AAA projects with different studios, so it's always interesting. I'm always learning new stuff. But yeah, that's basically my story. Yeah.
Sounds good. Thank you for sharing it. Yeah, good. So please tell us about your daily, like, job at Lost Boys Interactive. What do you do as an environment artist?
Yeah, so like I said, Lost Boys Interactive, it's a co-development studio. So what that means is we're contracted by other AAA studios to help build their games. There are like internal IPs I can't talk about that we are looking at.
NDAs.
Yeah, but my work as an environment artist kind of varies depending upon the project that I'm on. So I could be like set dressing levels with a pre-existing kit that their development studio made, and they just need to make up the time, and me just come in, or my team comes in and just helps set dress things. Like Diablo 4 was actually a recent game we were contracted to help ship with them, like at the end. And really what that was just, doing some design work, some level art, and just helping them get the game out the door on time. But like, yeah, it could be like set dressing, it could be creating assets, it could be making foliage assets with speed tree, tileable textures, modular kits with Quixel mixer, like making textures and stuff, world building, sculpting landscapes. The needs change like pretty often depending on what the project is. So it's good for me as a first job because I get exposed to so many different things. But yeah, my day to day it's always, who knows, the flip of a coin, whatever it could be.
Okay, so that's good. Just uh, what type of software do you usually use? Like, I mean, people are always trying to learn, knowing that Maya, Substance Paint, or Unreal Engines, they're kind of industry standards. But like in the studio, what people really use?
Yeah, so I'm an advocate for saying the software doesn't matter.
Okay,
The studio you want to work for makes that decision for you. So when you're just learning, don't really be too concerned about what software you're using, as long as like your 3D modeling and your texturing. Like there's Mari, which is a 3D texturing software that's mostly used in film. But if that's what you started with and that's what you're comfortable with, and that's getting you familiar with texturing in 3D, that's fine. It's not used in game development, but I would still look at someone that knows Mari and be like, hey, you can probably easily transition from Mari to Substance Painter within a week, because the similarities are kind of there. The UI is different. But for me, like in the studio, what we typically use is the standard stuff. We use Maya, we use Substance Painter, we use ZBrush, we use Quixel Mixer, we use SpeedTree. Let me just look at my task for Photoshop, obviously. Little things like PureRef for just gathering reference, Miro just for team collaboration, Jira, obviously. Perforce is also another one for just for all the server stuff.
mm,
Marmoset I use sometimes. It depends on what I'm doing. Um, I actually like, so just a little sidebar. Marmoset was great for baking textures down. If you're familiar with the whole low poly to high poly, low poly baking process, Marmoset was great for that. But I've actually started to gravitate back to Substance Painter because their baking has improved a lot since Adobe bought them out. I don't know how all that happened, but I've really started to enjoy what Substance Painter has to offer with baking.
mhm.
But yeah, we like the whole suite. But if you're just starting out, I would say the software you should focus on is anything that can help you work through a game art, like a prop art workflow, like just to make a simple prop, like a desk, a purse, a saddle, in your case, Alivek, which was great. You can use Maya or 3ds Max, whatever modeling tool you use, doesn't really matter. It gets the job done the same way. But through that workflow, you should also know how to UV layout. You should then know how to texture and bake down those textures from high poly to low poly. And then obviously just texturing in general with Substance Painter. Quixel Mixer even, but that's more for tileable stuff. At least that's what I use it for. But essentially, like once you get your head wrapped around that workflow and you can make a few good props, everything kind of starts to branch out from that. You can then learn speed tree and kind of figure out that workflow and how to make vegetation and foliage, and you can start making terrain and landscape textures and break off in that direction too. So I feel like once you get that foundation, you can start going in multiple directions and still be pretty efficient and learn a lot.
Yeah. So, so um, also, most people, start learning from Blender just because it's for free and it's really easy to learn.
Mhm.
So do you know anyone who, was really good at modeling as a skill, but just could do everything in Blender and who was hired by studios?
Oh yeah, yeah. Quite a few people I know have only known and worked with Blender, and have gotten hired by other
Okay.
studios for sure. It's well, like I said, it really depends who you're applying for. Like I would say if you're applying to Santa Monica Studios or Naughty Dog, they're going to want to see you have expertise, knowledge in Maya or 3ds Max, not really Blender, and that's primarily because of their game engine workflow, all that stuff. It's very proprietary. So like everything they do is Maya based for Naughty Dog. I think Santa Monica Studios as well. So if you have only skills using Blender, they're probably going to look at you and be like, your ramp up to learn and get familiar with our workflow could take a little bit longer than someone that has always been working in Maya or 3ds Max. So
Right.
that's like the drawback. It doesn't necessarily disqualify you at all, I wouldn't say. But when you're up against other candidates for such a big studio, they'll probably look at that ramp up time and be like, well, this person probably won't be able to crank out any tasks for a few weeks until they get familiar with our pipeline. Whereas this person, maybe a week to get familiar with our workflow and pipeline. But if it's an indie studio, they'll probably take you on and be like, hey, you make great modeling. Your models are great. It's awesome. We need people that can create assets,
Yeah.
and they'll take you on for sure. Yeah, because the budgets are tight. They need people. And personally, like Lost Boys, kind of we're a AAA studio, but we kind of have that indie vibe. Like where we work in small teams, like little pods that work on different projects. So it's always like a little tight knit group. So we all kind of like vibe together. No one really knows more than the other person, kind of thing. We're all kind of learning together, kind of stuff. So it's fun.
Yeah, that makes sense. So uh, just another question popped up in my mind. So yesterday we were talking about Pixel Mixer, right? So
Mhm.
Pixel Mixer basically is like completely free software as a Blender,
Yep.
basically to make games. So you said that you're using it like in the daily basis, right? So
Mhm.
tell us about a little bit about that one, because most of the people also like when they looking for texturing programs, they all see Substance Painter everywhere.
Yeah.
So nothing about Pixel Mixer. Please tell us about that.
Yeah. So Quixel Mixer has just kind of popped up on my radar about a month or two ago when I was tasked to do a lot of like tiling textures, mainly for modular kits, landscape materials, and stuff like that. And when you start thinking about that, mine typically went to like, all right, well, this tiling textures, building textures from scratch, that sounds like Substance Designer,
Mm.
which is a very intimidating program when you're just starting out. It's all node-based stuff. I'm not that kind of artist. I don't really like working with nodes and stuff. I like to have a virtual brush and just like paint this kind of stuff together. And
Mhm.
but Substance Painter, they do have like some like default like preset scenes, like a tiling plane where you can actually start to build up a tileable texture with, which is great. But I found that Quixel Mixer does it a little bit better, primarily because it saves you a lot of time because they're also connected to Quixel Bridge. And if you're familiar with Quixel Bridge,
Yeah.
all Megascan assets, Megascan surface textures and all that stuff. They're atlases, which is like they're transparent materials and stuff, and decals. And you just pretty much can drag and drop those materials into layers, just like in Substance Painter, and you can blend them together. You can mask them out and blend different things together, different elements. Like if I have a brick wall, I can then take that brick wall, go download like a mossy texture, put that on top, blend it together, mask out where I want the moss to be, adjust the roughness values, displacement values, normal strength. All the controls are there for you, and exporting it out, it's all customizable, just like Substance Painter. If you need to pack the textures,
Mhm.
you could do so much with it. It only took me like, if you're familiar with Substance Painter, it personally only took me like a week to really like wrap my head around how Mixer kind of does its thing. And after that, I just was like, "Yep, this is this is the tool for me to crank out these tasks, get the landscape materials going." And it did. It got all those textures out there really fast. And I was like, I was worried. I was like, "Oh crap, I got to figure out Substance Designer, and how the hell am I going to get all these textures done in a few weeks?" And
That's cool.
yeah, one of my coworkers, he's like, "Yeah, try Quicksilver Mixer. We're looking into that anyway, so see if it helps." He's like, "All right," and it kicks ass.
Okay, that's cool. So, can you make like visual effects that that's called visual effect, like adding dots on curvature map and something like that, as we do in Substance Painter? Can you do that in Super Mixer? Like dust these things on the corners and stuff,
Oh,
dirt stuff.
like edgeware kind of.
Yeah. No.
They're so you can actually bring in. They do have smart materials, right? Which is
Okay.
just like in Substance Painter. They actually have a whole library that you can download with Quixel Mixer with all the smart material presets. And it's essentially like in Substance Painter, where you can import your asset, your FBX or OBJ file, into the viewport. You can drag and drop one of those smart materials, and it'll recognize where the edges are, the curvature, the thickness. It'll do the whole thing for you.
Okay.
I haven't really dabbled in too much of that side of it yet. I still like to use Substance Painter just because habits die hard. But there is the potentiality to be able to take an asset and paint in edgeware for a prop. And yeah, you can definitely do the same with
Okay.
just a flat tileable texture. You could add it like to the brick. Like if I wanted to
Yeah.
make a variation of the brick wall, I could chip away certain things, add like a concrete texture in between all that stuff, dirt, whatever, to make it look like it fell out and stuff like that. You can do all that too.
Yeah, that was cool. Okay, cool. Thanks.
Yeah.
So, all right. Yeah, you already talked about yourself. So can you please, as I know that you were an IT guy before, right?
Yeah,
You,
I was working IT for about 10 years before
Teams.
game development.
Okay. Yeah, and then you just switched to 3D. Uh, I know that you already talked about that, but do you have anything to share, like something more?
Oh, just my background in getting into 3D art, or
Yeah, about like transition, from like IT.
yeah, I mean, there's a little bit of a story behind that. Yeah, so I guess like the question is like how did you jump from IT work into 3D work? So like my passion for video games has been like forever. Like I mean, like all of us here, if you're in the game development or environment art, you've played video games probably ever since you were a kid. The Final Fantasy VII was a game for me as a kid that really made me want to be a part of the industry. Like I was maybe like I'm gonna age myself, but I was like 9 or 10 years old, I think, and I was just like, this is amazing. This is like a movie. I can't believe that this is video games. And then Metal Gear Solid came out, and I was just like, oh my god, like so as a kid, like I really wanted to figure this out. Like how the hell I don't want to. My dad was a truck driver. My mom's a waitress. So I was like, I want a cool job that I can have fun doing. No disrespect to truck drivers and waitresses, but I wanted to really go for something that I felt in my heart was for me. Uh, And the only thing back then, there was no school, there's no education program for that stuff. There's like programming books, but you know that's a huge learning curve. It's like, hey, go learn C++ and you'll be a game developer. I'm just like,
Right.
that's nuts.
Yeah.
But the closest thing for me was computers, getting good with computers. That's what my uncle did. He said, you know, just get smart with computers, get savvy with it. You know, so that's what I did. My dad bought a computer. I would piss him off and like reverse engineer it, break it apart, put new pieces in, and I had a lot of fun with it. I got a lot of knowledge out of it. And once I was able to like kind of create my own custom PC, Half-Life came out, and I started modding that out. It's like Counter-Strike came out too, and I was just doing all these fun little mods, working in their engine and stuff. It was a lot of fun. But I got a job in IT, you know, and I kind of got a little comfortable too because you know I started at help desk, and then you know a couple of years later I got system administration, and you know I learned, I got my certifications from Microsoft, I got more money, and I was like, this is great. And then something hit me like halfway through the career. I was like, I don't know if I want to do this for the rest of my life. There was days where I was just absolutely miserable, and the people there were just like they treat you like trash because you're the IT guy and they just want it fixed and whatever. So it's like, I don't know, this is starting to suck. So I talked to my wife and I was like, I'm thinking of going back to school. And it's like I could either go get my degree for IT and make more money, or I can completely pivot and go into game design and game development, which is something I always wanted to do as a kid. So we rolled the dice. We were like, screw it, go for it. You know, you only live once.
Mhm.
Uh, it's never too late, so just go for it. We looked at Full Sail. Game design was something I thought was just like in the middle of everything based upon my research. Like game designers, they talk to programmers, they talk to engineers, they talk to VFX teams, they talk to environment art teams. So you're kind of in the middle of it all if you study game design,
Mhm.
which was good for me because I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I was like, all right, game design is a good place to start. And it was. I was able to like ship a very bad game for free on Steam at the end of my education with Full Sail, but I got through that whole experience. You know, I was able to like do some level design, game design, programming, all that stuff, prototyping. Yeah, we shipped a very simple game, but it was fun. But after that, I had a portfolio, and I was like, I don't think I'm going to get a job still. So it's like I'm still trying. So I was like, well, what did I like about game design? And I found that I liked level design the most, doing blockouts, helping create environments to lead the player and stuff. So I looked at CGMA. That was
Mhm.
a 10-week course. So I was like, all right, let's throw some more money at this and see what happens. But that was fun. But it also was another thing where I was like, I don't know if this is still for me. And my instructor towards the end was just like, hey, your blockouts are very detailed. Why don't you consider, did you ever consider being an artist? And I was like, no, I can't draw. I never thought of being an artist. But he's like, it doesn't matter. You don't have to know how to draw. But I was like, all right, well, and like I said, the pandemic hit, and
Mhm.
all right, let's look, let's see what other schools there are. And Think Tank Online had a very straightforward. I like Think Tank Online because they gave you the option to select your specialty like after the first term. So it's like, hey, if you want to go in the film, you can go in the film, and you can go in the games if you want to go in the games.
Mhm.
So I was like, all right, well, that's great for me because I'm very indecisive. I don't know what I want. But the second I started, I was like, yeah, this is for me. I like modeling, I like texturing, I like lighting. I wasn't really interested in the film stuff, so I was just like, I'm just gonna go straight for games and see what happens. And I haven't looked back, and it's just been awesome ever since. So it's basically just like been that whole pivot from IT, 10 years in IT, to then saying, screw it, I'm just gonna throw that all away and go for games. And it took a while, you know, and it cost a lot of money education wise to get there.
I can feel you on that.
It's my own fault though, because I can't decide what I wanted to do. So it is what it is. Still got
That's
here.
right. So when you choose the game, you prefer to go with 3D modeling as environment design, not with the rigging or animation or other stuff, right?
Yeah, I no rigging or animation, no visual effects stuff. I work with those people, and they're like the animation people. They are awesome. Like I thought I knew Maya, like Autodesk Maya.
Mhm.
I thought I knew that program until I watched what they do in it. And I'm like, wow, there's a whole different world in Maya that I just don't know. But yeah, the visual effects artists too. Like they do their own thing. They work in Houdini and they use like Niagara or whatever the
Mhm.
Unreal and I haven't really seen closely how they do their magic, but it's pretty impressive too. The tech art team, I thought I would be a tech artist because of my IT background, but I like making art and I like being closer to game design. So that's why I was like, I don't want to be so much of a tech artist. I like to know about what they do because it helps me. It helps me help the team. But yeah, they're in a class of their own. These tech artists, they're so smart, and how they build these shaders and how they program and stuff. All these tools to help us create art is just beyond me. So I was like, you guys enjoy that. I'll just take whatever you make and I'll go make stuff.
Right. That's cool. You said you published the game on Steam?
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. Yeah.
What?
It's called Duncan and the Wisp.
Let me.
And now everyone's gonna go type it in and be like, "What the hell is this garbage?" But yeah, that was the game. Me and like five other classmates, when we were studying game design, we were able to do the whole thing. We created a game pitch, a game design document. We programmed we scripted it all. I was mostly doing all the lighting, the level art, and the level design stuff to make it look visually aesthetic. But yeah, it's just a point and click game. There's a lot of bugs. It'll take you 2 hours, maybe less to beat. But yeah.
I mean, no, that's what's good. And you published it as a student, right? So,
Yeah. I mean, we all chipped in because I think at the time, I don't know if the price changed, but for Steam, for you to put a game on the platform was like $100. So we're like, all right, there's six of us. Let's just all chip in and we'll ship it. You
like,
know,
cool, good,
looks
good.
good on your portfolio to have a game that's shipped. So
Yeah, that's a kind of big deal for most of the players, right?
Mhm.
All right, yeah. And so again, another question is, so you studied at university, also you have experience getting knowledge from schools like think tank or CGMA. So what would you say about that one, like university over schools or schools over universities?
um, yeah, it's a tough question. Because it really depends on like you as a person. Like what worked for me isn't going to work for everybody. Someone can probably take what I did and do it so much better. I don't know, but what it's just like school can cost a lot of money. I've experienced it. I'm still paying for it. So it's important to like understand how you like to learn first before making that investment. Uh, and like I said, I was very indecisive, so I didn't even know what I wanted to do really in this career when I first started out. But I think as like working in IT and working full time, like I was able to kind of like develop my own learning skills and all that stuff and kind of figure out like what worked best for me. And for me, starting out at a university like Full Sail, it's very structured. You know exactly what you're doing like every day. Like, all right, this month I have this class, and this week I have to do these deliverables, and like, all right, fine, cool. I working full time while you're going to school, you don't have a lot of energy to think about what you got to do for school so you can get that degree. Uh,
Mhm.
but that's what I needed. Some people they don't go to universities at all, which is awesome, and they prefer more of a abstract approach. Like they'll go through YouTube tutorials or they'll go through udemy.com, buy like a $10 tutorial just to get whatever they can from that. And the experience and the skills they develop, it's just as relevant as what you would pick up at university. And the thing is like when you spend so much money going to university, like by the time you graduate after 2 years, 3 years, whatever, that stuff that you learned is already kind of dated, like it's starting to get outdated. The industry moves so fast. So it's like, that's why I say, like, it really depends on how you learn, how you want to learn. Do you want that structure? Do you want that organized? I don't have to guess. All right, this is my instructor this month. This is what I want to do. You don't have to worry about it. A university might work for you. Think tank is actually kind of in between. They do have a good structure, but at the same time, you're not spending as much as a university, and you get done probably like half the time, if not less than half the time. And I think the skills are very focused. So what you're doing at that time is still very relevant to what we're doing in the industry. And your instructors, more importantly, are actively working in the industry. Most of them are. I don't know if any of them are retired. Every instructor I had at Think Tank was actively working in the industry. And now looking back at that, it's like, dude, like I'm working in the industry full time. How are you even an instructor doing that on top of what you're already doing day to day? Like you're crazy. But it's full respect goes out to those instructors at Think Tank and any other school that's giving back and still working full time and balancing all their stuff. But yeah, so the pros and cons, it really depends on you. I would never say to anybody, you got to go to school, you got to go to university. We live in different times, man. Like those days of saying like, oh, you got to have a degree. Nah, you can get everything you want just with a Google search. Figure it out in a couple of days in an afternoon. Like it's you don't have to go to school. I would only encourage you to just be very curious, continually want to learn because you will always be learning. I am every day when you're in this industry. So just depend on that. Just like I think with college, and I'll wrap up the topic. The college thing, it helped me become more disciplined in that growth mindset where it's just like every month was something new, every week was something new. And it's like whiplash, like you're having to pivot your thought process and what you're learning. It's like, oh, I was just getting into that topic and now I got to go learn this other thing. That is very true in the industry. Like you'll be working on trees or something, be like, oh, speed tree, I know what I'm doing now. This is cool. I never learned it. Hey, we need you to go make some textures in Mixer. Wait, what? I don't know Mixer. Like what? I was just getting cool in speed tree and now I gotta go do this, man. Like it's up, but that happens, and you got to be able to adapt and pivot. So learning throughout my education at Full Sail, Think Tank, having to turn on a dime, that's game development. So it's good to learn that way.
Yeah, totally makes sense. The fact that like schools like Think Tank, they have professionals from the industry as a teachers, that's a big deal, I think. I mean,
Good connection too.
yeah, yeah, okay, yeah. So yeah, it really depends on someone's goal. All right, so yeah, the most before switching to the most important, the interesting part of the meeting, when people start asking their questions, uh, please give some advices for beginners,
Hmm.
and then after that we will switch to QA session.
Yeah. So my advice, and this is something I wish was told to me when I was starting out. I've been studying all this stuff since like 2019 was when I really started to like dive into this stuff and spend money on my education. Uh, the work involved and the time that you spend learning, that's never going to change. What will change is everything up in here. Your mindset, your mental health, you have to keep that stuff in check. I have built so much anxiety and stress, unneeded stress and anxiety because of the pressure that I felt on looking through Instagram, everyone else's portfolios, all their art. It's just amazing. And so the one thing that I will advise you is just to realize that you're always going to be learning. Everyone does. Even if you're a senior artist, they're still learning. You always will be learning. Just accept it. Don't run from it, hide from it. Just embrace it. And honestly, just let it relieve that stress and anxiety. Let it take you off the hook, because you're always going to be learning. That means that you don't have to know everything either, which was something my instructor told me. Says you don't have to know everything. You got a nice portfolio, keep working at it. It doesn't matter if you don't know everything. And if anyone expects you to know everything or mocks you for not knowing something, is just an asshole. Truly is just an asshole, because no matter what their status is, what their Twitter follower count is, whatever their portfolio even looks like, they don't know everything either. And if anything, if what they do know and they're preaching that stuff as like the end all be all, then they're trying to sell you something. What's important is to realize you're always going to be learning. You don't have to know everything, but it's also not an excuse to like stop learning more. You should always be learning and stay curious and follow whatever interests you. You know, it doesn't matter. Like I disciplined in environment art. I screwed around with character art just because I wanted to learn more ZBrush. It doesn't matter. I messed around with visual effects just to kind of see what they do. You know, there's no wrong way of learning this stuff. You can really just go with whatever speaks to you and you'll be all right. Like truly just represent it in your portfolio too, to show other people like, hey, I'm really interested in this kind of stuff. And the recruiter will be like, hey, this guy, he's doing some cool stuff over here. He's got good models and all that stuff, but look at his like visual effects. Like he's also dabbling in that. That's pretty neat. This guy's versatile. Like he can do other things. And one final thing too is something else, because like I said, you know, you guys can probably put an age on me. I was about 30 or 29 years old when I started to really do this stuff seriously. I'm turning 36 now. But the point is, it's never too late, but I had this crushing fear that it was too late and that I'm going to be like the oldest person in my classroom or the oldest person interviewing with the least amount of experience, you know, and there's so many dumb negative thoughts that can just like flood in your brain, and it's just never too late. You know, you can start whenever. I am evidence that like I had a 10-year career and I just threw it all away. And I was like, I'm going to start trying to do this. And I was able to do it in like 5-6 years. It was hard. There's no joke. You will be working. It's hard. But, you know, we convince ourselves of all those insecurities, right? Because we just compare ourselves to other artists. And you get this doubt in yourself that you'll never be as good as them. When I started Think Tank, I saw all these phenomenal renders. I can never do that. Oh, I can never do this either. This guy is on another level. This girl is making character art like, and here I am, an IT guy, just like, hey guys, what's up? I want to learn 3D art. But you put in the time and the effort, and then I'm like, I was able to make MJ's apartment in 4 months, and that's just because I just cared a lot about it, you know. So don't ever think it's too late. It's not. You can start whenever, and you will get better. This, like when you're starting out, this is the shittiest you'll be at this. You're only going to get better. This is the worst you will ever be. Like me, like when I started, that was the worst I ever was. I made a hammer in 3D and I thought it was the coolest thing ever. And now I look at that hammer and I'm just like, good times. So just appreciate the journey. That's all. And you will get better. Just keep working hard.
So the last one was good for me. I'm in my mid-30s right now. So yeah,
dude, I feel you. You don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. And you look good, man. You're not 35. You're like 25.
whatever. Thank you. Yeah. All right, man. Yeah. Thanks. Thank you for everything. Really appreciate it. Okay. So yeah. I think so right now in chat I can see a lot of questions already popped up. So yeah. All right, Ben. Can I ask you, to look at the chat and then like starting answering like one by one, please?
All right. Should I scroll to the top, or how do we want to go about this? Let's see. All right. I'm just gonna scroll. Oh, it's not that much. All right. So the first one we got: during co-dev work, do your partners let you dive into their game engines and their software? Game ready answer. Yeah, so that's a good question. Can't really discuss too much about the details. Short answer is yes. More of an abstract answer is maybe. It kind of really depends on the contract, what their needs are, and stuff like that. Trying to think of an example. Well, yeah. So, like, say, like, yeah, it really depends. Like, it could be Unreal Engine, it could be Unity, could be their proprietary stuff. Diablo 4, I can talk about that. That game is out. So Diablo 4, yeah, it was working for Blizzard. We were contracted through them. It was all remote work, so it's like, yeah, they ship us their stuff. It's all under lock and key. It's all their stuff. It's very monitored and everything. But yeah, we're doing things in their bubble, in their atmosphere, environment, whatever you want to call it. But yeah. And how many years of experience in game dev do you have? I would say maybe like 2.5 years professionally. Everything else I did before that, like I did like 6 months of contract work for Unfold Games, which is like kind of an indie studio. They have a cool game coming out. It's called Bloody Hell Hotel. Very cool style. Game mechanics look like a lot of fun. You're a vampire trying to run a hotel, so it's fun. Yeah, I did that for 6 months, and then I was able to join not Think Tank. I was able to join Lost Boys Interactive. I've been there for about 1.5 years now, so yeah, about 2 years. Everything before that was voluntary, like doing QA testing for a game on Steam called Capia. I just volunteered. I just wanted to be a part of something. So just very easy, just game testing, recording myself, play testing, helping them out. Do I have a degree in art? Not really. I have a degree in game design. Think Tank gave me like a certification for environment art specialization. So there's that. But again, not important. None of that's really important. Even if I'll add to that. Even if you're looking at a job posting that says a degree in equivalent discipline or whatever, ignore it, because they're usually just putting there to either scare you, which is a whole other topic we can get into if you want, about job searching. Because I'm telling you, they put stuff in these job description things to scare you away. If you just apply, throw your hat in the ring, see what happens, because the person writing that job description is not necessarily the person really interviewing you. It's usually just a filter. So don't be.
No refer the artist, right?
What's that?
The person who is posting the job, he's not an artist as well. I mean, not the interviewer, not an artist. I mean,
oh, I'm sorry. What was the question again?
no, I was just
Oh, you were just saying.
forget it.
I got you.
Forget it.
Can
Yeah.
we delve deeper into this topic?
You want to return to the topic?
Yeah, I kind of like
Sure.
really interested in that.
Yeah. We'll dive into that if we got time. All right, real quick. Where do we go? Do we art? Answer that. How much effort did it take to master the skills of game art? Basically, a pro. I am not a pro. I work as a professional. But how much effort? A lot. I love this stuff. Don't crunch. Be healthy. I will say all that as just a preamble, a disclaimer. But I worked usually like 10, 12 hours a day. I love this stuff. That's me. I would not say, hey, that's what you have to do. That's just what I did. I care a lot. I have a wife and kids, of course. Balance is important. I save my weekends for them. But Monday through Friday, it's go time. Put as much time and effort and care. It's a representation of me at the end of the day. So I'm putting myself out there. It's got to be all of it, all of me or none of me. That's really how I approached my art and my effort. And there was a lot on the line. I was dropping a career for this. So if I just slacked off, I was like, oh, I'm just gonna go through the course and let the degree get me the job. Yeah, it ain't gonna happen. You got to put a lot more effort and care into it. So something about visa. Do you have some experience being hired by U.S. company? Yeah, that I don't have any experience with the visa process. I'm in the States, so Not sure if anyone else can chime in on that. Who's a tech artist? Yeah, good question. I don't know. They're wizards, man. They're a mystery. But yeah, someone answered that. Yeah, they do shaders, VFX stuff, all that jazz. Central tools or software I use regularly. Yeah, Substance Painter, yep, 3ds Max, Maya. Unreal Engine, yeah, of course. If we have to use Unity, if the company that as they want us to use Unity, we'll use Unity. If they're using Lumberyard, we'll use Lumberyard, you know. But do I play games now? Yes. I'm actually trying to finish Alan Wake 2. I think last night I on like the point of no return for Saga's story. So I think I'm about done with it. After that, I'm on winter break now. So after that, I'm gonna jump back into Baldur's Gate 3 and just say bye to everybody. I'm gone. I'm just living in Baldur's Gate. So something else has to be passionate about video games is really necessary. Of course, you want to be passionate. You don't want to work a job this hard, spend so many hours and hate what you do. Internships, yeah, they're cool. I never did one, but I do worry about the practices of internships a little bit. Certain companies that like advertise, hey, we're doing our summer intern program, all that stuff. I do question it a bit. I'm a little cynical though, so take this with a grain of salt. I think it's a PR stunt most of the time to kind of bring in a group of people to say, hey, we're doing all this stuff with interns. But I would love to see the numbers on how many of those people get a job with that company after all the work. They're displaced, they're flown out, they do all that stuff. I mean, you could say you did it. It looks way better on your resume than mine for sure that you did that. But I do wonder like how much of those people are they hiring after their internships? That would be my question. But again, I'm cynical, so plus one internship. Well, the problems at work where they're doing almost impossible assignments. Yeah, all the time. That's game development. Everything feels impossible until you do it. It takes a team to do it, and it takes hours and stress and panic but you're all in it together, and the problems at work are best solved when you have an awesome team. And that's why I wanted to join game development so much, because IT work, you're just one guy usually, and everyone just yells at you. But in this case, I'm one guy with a team of other people, all stressing about the same thing, all trying to achieve the same thing to make an awesome game and to solve the problems. So yeah, it feels impossible sometimes until it's not, you know. Some things you just can't do because of time, you know, and that's a reality that production and the higher ups have to appreciate. But it all feels impossible sometimes. Playing games don't make you better at art. I would say, you know, it depends. For me, it helped me develop an eye. I would say like the kind of games I gravitated towards, you know, the 3D, Uncharted, God of War. I put hundreds of hours in those games because I'm just looking at stuff mostly. I like to think of how they did it, what technique or workflow they might have had. Doesn't make you better at art, no, because you got to put that stuff into practice. But it does get you thinking, and for that, I'd say that's.
Can I ask a follow-up like to this, what I wrote?
What was that? Question was not about. Oh, I totally agree with that. I just don't understand what you're asking. Yeah, I got you. Yeah. As a beginner in the 3D industry, there are various software options available. Somebody start exploring, learning different tools. Yeah, like I said in the beginning, just try and understand the game art workflow, prop art workflow. If you can take a prop, like a desk, a trophy, whatever you want, model it, do high poly, low poly, in either Maya, 3ds Max, Blender, whatever you want. It doesn't matter. They're all creating 3D. But then you can take that, you can do a bake down in Substance Painter or Marmoset, whichever one you want. Again, they both do the same job essentially, and in a way you get the end result. UV layouts, all that stuff. It's once you understand that workflow, you're good, because you can branch off and do all that other stuff. But you can be agnostic to whatever tools and software, because you're not working professionally, so you don't have to listen to anybody. You know, do whatever you're comfortable with doing, and you're learning. So go learn. You know, go after it. What's the most useful social media? I found LinkedIn and Instagram were really helpful. The Rookies is a great community. If you don't know about the rookies, they're basically like ArtStation. Set up while you're in school, set up another portfolio on the rookies. Everything you usually post on there, they have like 70,000 followers on their Instagram account. They'll repost most of your work just organically. You don't even have to ask them. And if you do well enough, if your work gets enough traction, they'll reach out to you and they'll ask you, hey, do you want to write an article that we'll share to our community, breaking down what you did? And they did that for me when I was at Think Tank, which was a lot of fun. And they even spoiled me further with MJ's apartment. They were so impressed by that they reached out to me and they said, hey, 3D World Magazine, do you want your piece in there? And I'm just like, yeah. And they're like, all right, cool, send us some photos and we'll send it over to their editors. And yeah, so I have an edition of it. I have it framed on my wall and I'm just like, yep, that happened. But again, that was all through the rookies. If I wasn't active on the rookies while in school, that wouldn't have happened. And ArtStation, yeah, definitely have ArtStation too. So good advice is to build a good portfolio. And we'll get into that. How does the choice between being specialist and generalist impact career opportunities? It doesn't. I think if you're specialized in something, you'll probably get a job doing that. If you're generalized in something, you'll probably get a job doing a little bit of everything. That's just my experience. I'm a generalist at heart. I like to try everything. I would specialize probably in foliage and vegetation because that's what I started to do recently until I got into Mixer. But it's just cool. Like SpeedTree is way more powerful than I thought. I was fairly curious how much further I can push that software, but yeah. I don't think there's a difference. I think as long as you can do the job at the end of the day, they're going to want you. If you're a specialist, just make sure you really love what you're doing because that's all you're going to be doing. If you want to do visual effects, think about even granular, like what kind of visual effects are you more privy to, or if you just want to be a prop artist, what part of the prop art pipeline are you best at? Are you best at modeling and doing ZBrush stuff? Are you better at doing the texture stuff? And then you can think of even more specialization in those facets too. So the thing is, like when people ask about specialization, I say in what, because it gets granular and granular. Especially if you work at a AAA studio, they have one person just doing one thing for throughout the entire project sometimes, and they're the specialist. But if you're a generalist, you're kind of hopping in between, wearing many different hats. So I don't think that's a question to get too hung up on as long as you're learning stuff. Ooh, I see a puppy. There's a dog. Nice. Good boy. Yeah, so if you want to go into the portfolio stuff, or if we have time, I don't know. I can keep going. I don't know.
Yeah.
Freelancing and working in a studio. I mean, freelancing and working in a studio. I mean, one has benefits, one doesn't. Yeah, I did the freelance contract work for 6 months. It was cool because I, worked my own hours, get whatever they need done. So you're your own boss. That's cool. It's harder to continue to get work though. You got to have a good following and stuff. Yeah, so if you're working at a studio and you're full time, you don't got to worry about nothing. You just walk into work, do your stand up, and you're like, tell me what to do, and so I guess that's the advantage and disadvantage. It's disadvantage of that would probably be maybe you're doing something you don't want to do. Maybe it's not your favorite thing. Because in that case, you could just tell the client, nah, I don't like to do that, and go work on something you do. But in this case, you work for the studio's going to tell you what to do. But yeah, so I guess that's all the questions. The portfolio stuff, if you guys have time, I can give some advice on the portfolio stuff. Tim wants
to just send his ArtStation portfolio.
Do we want to look at that?
Probably.
Yeah, can you yeah, I've used Mixer. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, I also used like Mixer, and to me it was like a big surprise that you said that Mixer is being used in like AAA development, right? Because I've never like ever seen Mixer being used like on ArtStation, except for like Quixel Mixer artists on Epic Games. I've seen like tutorials from them, but like besides them, I haven't seen anyone use like Quixel Mixer. So yeah,
because it's easy. It's not as what's the it's not as showy. The process isn't as showy as like doing something in Substance Designer. I would argue, like someone's way more impressed by seeing someone create like a bunch of carpets and cloth and quilts or whatever on a shader ball and Substance Designer, because you're like, wow, that person is really good at connecting nodes and doing all that stuff. There's a lot of talent, there's a lot of intelligence and programming prowess behind doing stuff like that, and there's a lot of value in that. And in a AAA studio, I would say that comes valuable, because if you want something very specific, very bespoke to whatever the game is, then yeah, you're going to need people that can do that. With Mixer, you do have some stylistic ways of doing things. If it's like if it's like a Fortnite kind of style, or even like a cell shaded kind of thing, you can kind of like tweak it. But primarily for Mixer, if you're working a PBR workflow that is like you're hitting for like Call of Duty kind of realism kind of stuff, yeah, it does stuff super fast. That's why you see like in Call of Duty and like Battlefield games, they usually have like the Megascan or Pixel logo somewhere in the credits, because they're using in some capacity Megascan assets or textures to then author to the look that they want. But yeah, you don't really see it on ArtStation, I would say, because like it doesn't. I don't know. I would say it would for me anyway, if I saw someone with like a library of textures that aren't just drag and dropped, right? Like, because Quixel Mixer, you can drag and drop a brick texture and it looks fantastic. It looks done. But if you took it a lot further, if you showed a lot of damage, if you showed a lot of different blending, you're taking different elements, you're making your own masks.
yeah. So can you like check my artwork that I've sent? There I like didn't use any textures from library. I did like all the masks that you said. Like I only used Mixer for color information. So the height map, I did the bricks in ZBrush basically.
Nice, yeah. See, it's stuff like that, because now you're using ZBrush and you're incorporating, creating displacement maps from ZBrush. That's a great workflow. It's great to have that understanding. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. I don't know, I'll if you want to share his,
Yeah,
or do I
I can
have?
do it quickly.
Yeah, we can look at
There's
it.
a chat actually in Zoom chat, but let me.
Yeah, I clicked on it. I just don't know if you want me to share it or if you want to share. Yeah, yeah, Tim, this looks good, man. Oh, do I have can I share? I just want everyone to see what I'm looking at. So. Yeah, because like you use Mixer, but you didn't just use Mixer, like you did way more beyond Mixer, which makes this attractive.
And yeah, and there's like a GIF that shows like the layers.
Yes.
And the thing is that I feel like people when they see Mixer, they think that I just dragged and dropped. Yeah, that's the thing. Like that's why I think it's like gets discounted mostly by people. That's why like Substance Designer stuff gets more likes, because people like think that, well, this guy just dragged and dropped like some stuff from the library.
When you say by people, I would say those people are probably other artists on ArtStation, that are like looking around or gonna judge your work or leave you a comment. But on a hiring side, on a studio side, I would look at this and be like, yeah, Tim knows ZBrush, he knows Mixer, and he's utilizing Mixer in an efficient way to then get this tileable texture out the door. That's smart, There's nothing wrong with that. Where the trouble is like if you're a new artist and you're like looking at these Megascan asset libraries and you download Unreal Engine 5, you activate Lumen and Nanite, blah blah blah, and you compose a scene and you get all that great looking foliage assets stuff going on, and then you post it to ArtStation and you're just like, hey, look what I made. All right, well, there's things to give you credit towards, right? Which is composition, maybe your lighting and all the other stuff. But as far as asset creation goes, foliage and vegetation creation goes, I don't see your workflow there. That was a drag and drop. the textures for your landscapes, if that was just drag and drop from Mixer and you didn't do anything to author that further, when you're just painting what was already in the library. I would question, maybe your texturing, how you build up a texture and how you author a texture to fit your scene too. So there's things like that, like where that are the red flags, and that's all you have is just all Megascan asset scenes in your portfolio. Then that would kind of make me question, like, well, you can compose a scene, you can work in engine, you can use assets from a library. I think the best we can probably do for this candidate is take him on as like maybe a level artist, just a set dress, and he'll just be dragging and dropping the stuff that like our team is going and creating for that individual, and they're just set dressing. So there is a job there, and there's value there. But a lot of people starting out, that's kind of like the stuff that they just start doing. So
Yeah, that's what I started doing when I like came into this artist. Like I want to do blueprints before, but then I want to become an environment artist, but now I want to become a character artist. And the thing why I gave up on environment art, because it's so like it's scary because like I see all these pieces, like huge massive scenes, right, in Unreal Engine, and it like discourages me. And what I'm thinking right now is I picked up a course on CGMA by Jared Zaboto, I think, from like The Last of Us.
Mhm.
And he does like the foliage, right, just how you said. And I'm now thinking like the result he did is he did like a small vignette scene, compiling like this smaller, like one hero tree and smaller like foliage.
Mhm.
So now I'm like again starting to finding that passion for environment art. So I've seen that you did your work MJ room, right, in Marmoset toolback. So how is it? So my question here is how important is knowing Unreal versus Marmoset, or does it make any difference at all? Like I want to do more like organic, right? Rocks, trees, foliage, and all sorts of stuff.
Hmm. So the differences between Marmoset and Unreal are pretty huge. Unreal Engine is its own game engine. Marmoset, you can compose a scene in Marmoset and do quite a lot of things in Marmoset, but that's not necessarily any for environment
Yeah,
art.
yeah.
Speaking in that, they're very different. But I think what would be a better question is like the difference between like Unity and Unreal.
No, I mean, in terms of getting hired, right? What is it better to like you, because you, for example, showcase in Marmoset, so does it even matter where you showcase your like, you know?
Yeah. So for me, like Marmoset for me on these projects was really just a display case to help display and render, either a hero prop or just a prop that I made so you can get up close without the noise from the environment. That's really all I personally use Marmoset for, aside from baking and other things in the pipeline, and also testing textures because I like to have different lighting scenarios at like a drop of a hat. I don't have to open up the engine to do that. I can just use Marmoset and test stuff.
Okay, so you like for the scene itself, you use Unreal Engine, right?
Always, yeah. The thing that I like to try and tell people when you're trying to be a game artist is get your stuff in engine as fast as possible, even if it's early blackout. Because when you're composing a scene and everything, and your lighting is changing, you got to make sure it's all in engine, it's all looking the way that you want. Because it's very easy, especially when you're an environment artist, you got a lot of assets, a lot of props. You want to make sure all that stuff is like vibing well, and you don't have any like outstanding outliers or a roughness value on a prop that's like that just got screwed up and now it's acting weird. So MJ's apartment for me was a way to exercise that. How can I handle a very dense scene with all these assets that I made and keep them all at a consistent quality, matching like this tone of a Brooklyn apartment, studio apartment. Um, that was my intention when I started this. Kind of spiral out into more stuff. Like then I was like, oh, I want to make an awesome cinematic. I want to do this. I want to put something on the laptop monitor and see how that works. But that's the curiosity that you gotta chase after. But the importance is, yeah, definitely if you're doing environment art for games, do as much as you can inside of an engine, because the engines throughout the industry, I mean, they vary. People use their own proprietary stuff. They use different versions of Unreal that are tailored to their studio and whatever. But the key notes, like with Crytek and what you're doing in those engines, is pretty relatable to each other. So it's like once you learn one, once you get pretty good in one, you can transfer that knowledge to another and work in various studios and do okay, you know. So always do your stuff in Unreal Engine. Off just as the final render. If you're making an environment scene, it should be in Unreal Engine, not Marmoset. Use Marmoset for testing your props and maybe certain lighting scenarios if you want. But otherwise, get everything in Unreal as fast as possible.
Okay. Any other questions, guys?
Any more questions?
I could ask one more if nobody has questions.
You want to look at the chat real quick, Arabic? I don't know where we left off. All right, we did that one. Beginner, key considerations, freelancing. Yeah, Tim, yeah, I got you. Shark is too. Okay, we'll look at that one. Oh wow, lots of pieces in here now. Woo! Okay. Any questions before we jump into these ArtStation posts? Okay, so which video games inspire me? Final Fantasy VII as a kid, I that one got me into games. But you know, your typical status quo, Naughty Dog games, Santa Monica games, Uncharted, God of War, Last of Us, Alan Wake 2, I like what Remedy is doing. I think right now they're my favorite studio. Their universe of like Control and Alan Wake, and I am so sure they're going to tie in Max Payne in one way or another to this universe. I don't know how yet, but it's really cool. I like what they're doing. I think it's cool that a studio is doing like a Marvel approach with their games, and I'm really curious to see where that goes. But yeah, Remedy is inspiring me heavily right now, especially from an environment art standpoint. Because Alan Wake 2 is gorgeous. Okay, so you want to jump into these ArtStation links? Do we have time? Albert?
You want me to send it over the LinkedIn?
If you want, I can share my screen. If you want to give me control, and I can just.
Oh, yeah, yeah, just once. I was looking at something. Give me one sec.
Tim, while we do this, did you want to ask your question?
Any cost?
I think we can go through like the ArtStation because I'm seeing like amazing artwork. I really want to know what you think of them.
The house now. Okay.
All right, let me just make some room here on the monitor. All right, let me know once I'm shared. You see?
Yep.
Yeah.
Who do we got? I lost the chat. So hang on a second. How do I get the chat back? Zoom. This one? The chat? Oh, there we go. There's the chat. All right. And okay, so real quick, did I get the right one? All right, Tammy did yours, so I think this is okay, cool. All right, so this is Koi Fish. May I share my piece too for a review? All right, so we got a cool little stylized character art here. Modeled in Blender, Texture and Substance Painter. Cool. All right. Okay, so I would probably point out like this is great. You know, I'm not a character artist, so I'm gonna do my best here. I feel personally for a stylized character, this is cool. I think the proportions are nice. You know, the anatomy is fun. The tail, I would probably say needs a little bit more triangles. I see that you went pretty low, 51,000. is pretty low for a character. I would say don't be afraid to kind of bump that up a bit more. But again, I'm not a character artist. Someone might say, hey, we need low triangle count. But personally, for a character, I think you could probably spend a little bit more. Our characters in the game that we're doing right now are well above that. So don't be afraid to add a little bit more, and especially for a portfolio piece, don't shy away from adding a lot of triangles. Like MJ's apartment, it's a showpiece. I added I did 4K textures on everything. You know, like it was a portfolio piece, and that's what I tell people, you know, in my interviews when they're asking, like, oh, how did you do this? What was the texture resolution and all that stuff? What was the triangle count? And I was like, look, man, I have a remote that's like almost 10,000 triangles because I got close up with a camera, and that's the only reason why. But it's like if you can explain those reasons, you know, because you're pushing for quality, because you want to show it in your portfolio. Don't be afraid to do that, because if you get an interview and they ask you about it, just tell them straight up, like, yeah, I added extra triangles because I want it to look good. It's like, if I want to break it down further and get less triangle count, I can do that. You know, I know how to do that. But for a portfolio piece, yeah, don't shy away. To just throw it all out there. You know, double that, make that 200,000 triangles. You know, do 4K textures, do whatever it takes to make it look good and stand out. Because yeah, this
Thank you very much, because I actually was afraid to do a high poly model. I tried to make it as low as possible, but keep on, you know, the form to make it prettier.
yeah, well, that's a whole other topic. I fell victim to that quite a lot because I'm in Discord servers. I'm trying to ask a lot of questions. You get a lot of advice, and you get a lot of conflicting advice. So that's why at the end of the day, listen, but don't take everyone's advice as like that's what I have to do. And then if you come back for feedback and you didn't do what they did, they get pissed off. You don't need to be a part of that toxicity. We're all making art, we're all learning, we're all growing, we're all trying to showcase ourselves and get a job. And you want to leave with your best foot forward. You don't want to have stuff that's like faceted, like that's what I call like the tail. Like you see those faceted, jarring angles and stuff like that. Like you smooth that out, you know. There's a reason behind it. It's an artistic reason. It's a portfolio piece. If this was for a job, and if the client was like, I need this under 60,000 triangles, you're like, okay, and this is what it's gonna look like. You know, you're gonna have a little faceting, and they're like, that's cool, we can rig it, ship it. Then you did your job, you know, it's all good. Before a portfolio piece, blow it all up in a good way, you know, add all the triangles you want, edge loops, make it look nice. Because you can always take away, you know, and when you're showing it, you show it once, you get that one first impression, and you want them to see really high quality stuff. Because if they ask the questions, oh, it was too high trying, I was like, that's fine. Take it into ZBrush and I'll start removing whatever we gotta do. Maya, start removing edge loops. You know, we can always take away and optimize it. But first impressions count. You want the design of the character to stand out. You want it to look boom. So don't shy away from that. This is your art, you know. Really throw it at their face and be like, this looks awesome. And it does. This looks really good. This is a really good start. I would just say if you were to do any kind of iteration, just more triangles. Add a lot more. Make it look
Okay, I got it. Thank you very much.
yeah. All right, let's see who's next. Okay, I was looking for a job a month ago. I don't know where I'm on the phone. Yeah, it's tough right now. I feel like the past few months have been hard to get a job. We're as a studio starting to feel a little nervous too with Embracer Group and all that nonsense that's been going on. So wow, this is good stuff. Wow, yeah. So first impression already, you just heard it organically. Like I see this, this looks well polished. I'm not worried about poly count. I'm worried. I think about art. This looks like high art. Awesome. You know. We'll get into the technical details later. So it's like just looking at this, yeah, this is badass. I don't even need to click on anything. I'm giving you a phone call. You know, that's kind of like that thing. But let's look at something like an environment plot like this. This is cool. This is badass. Maya, on the set, substance painter, nice. Yeah, I like hard surface stuff, so it's what I gravitate towards. Yeah, I would say modeling, top notch, awesome modeling, really, really nice. I would say, I mean, maybe a little bit more of a description here because I'm guessing that this is supposed to be game ready. But if this is for a first person shooter, I would watch out for things like this, where they're just kind of slammed through the mesh. I would find a way to connect those two, show some welding in the texture, anything like that, or even just combine the mesh, and then show like, you know, some beveling or whatever. If it's a first person shooter and you're getting that close and the camera is going to be zooming in on those pieces, the guts on the inside, you want to make sure everything looks, you know, up to par. But I would say that's forgivable if you know, it's kind of a choice if you wanted to have that or not. The textures are also like a little bit flat too for me. I would try and like the green and the black. That's if I'm thinking like an albedo map, that's what I see. I just see, you know, a dark gunmetal gray and an army green. I would want to see some more wear, some scuff marks, grime, dirt. I want to see you know, maybe like some heat damage from the tip of this rifle from being fired so much. You know, I want those storytelling beats in this piece to kind of push it further. Yeah, like getting up close to this, like from afar, you can't really see much of that Edward. You can see like the discoloration from it and these like little areas. And you got to get really close to see like that chewiness. And these scratches too, they don't really pop as much. I would say maybe like up the contrast on some of those elements, just so from a distance, like the roughness is helping you, but I would say in the color too, because you know when you get a scratch on like a painted gunmetal, you're starting to reveal that other layer of just raw steel and metal. So you kind of want to see that. But yeah, otherwise this is really strong piece. Yeah, I like the grips. That's really cool. But again, you can push that further. You can like smooth out some of the normalness in there to make it look like it was gripped onto for a long time and used over time. And you can see like the embellishments, like the indentation of a hand from gripping and moving this thing around. And really all that is, you can just go into either Substance Painter and add like a mask over it or something. Yeah, I'm sorry, I can't really think of how I would approach it. I would have to see the layers. But yeah, you know, you just like paint out and lower down the normal and kind of like paint out the silhouette of what a hand grip would probably be there. But yeah, otherwise, like, yeah, this is great. All your pieces are really strong. They all stand out. It's amazing to see, like, you know, you do character art and you're doing props. That's great. I would say you'd probably be great for either one, character art or environment art, really.
Can I like add something?
Sure.
Because the original like, question was, I don't know what is wrong with my portfolio, right?
Yeah.
I wanted to like add, so maybe if you want to focus on character art, maybe maybe he should, right?
Yeah.
Hide the like cars, like props, and focus only on the characters, so like they see, yeah,
Well,
right from the
well,
get-go. Or
yeah. I mean, when we get down into it, it's like the trouble of hiring is it's very hard to figure out a why. But in his case, like I would say, like he has this stuff organized in folders. You know, he's separating his props from his fan art, from his anatomy. It's showing a lot of versatility, and it depends on where you're trying to get hired at. So if you are really going for like a prop art job, I would hide. You know, I don't know. Yeah, it'd be tough for me. I'm putting myself in their shoes right now. It's like I would be hard pressed to like hide these, but I'll probably hide the fan art if anything, and just stick with the hard surface props. The card I would definitely because it shows really good modeling skills for sure. But yeah, it really depends. Like if you're going for character art jobs, I would remove all the props. You just want all the fan art stuff. I'm assuming these are all model. Yeah, mine is English. Yeah, yeah. This is your character art portfolio, I would say, along with probably this too, or these two. If you're going for a character art route, just combine these two, hide all this stuff, and ship out your resume to just character art jobs if that's what you're doing. If you're going for environment art, I would want to see an environment. If you're going for prop art, I think this is a strong portfolio to get you a job as a prop artist. But if you're going for environment art, you got to have at least one environment for sure. I would make a scene around this gun, around this camera if you want. Just take one of your props, make a desk around it. It can be just a simple vignette like that, but showing composition and that you can move a camera and establish a scene in Unreal with any one of those props, even a car. I would make one or two environment pieces if you're applying for environment art. But
I
props,
think even I
Yeah.
think even the props he could like combine with the characters, right? Like
the statue, I would, I mean, environment art, we do handle stuff like this too, making sculptures and stuff around landscapes. So, yeah, a character art team would handle it if we're in a pinch, but traditionally that would get delegated to environment art. We would do something like that. But yeah, hopefully that helps. I wish you all the luck getting. This is a very tough time for video games. Getting a job is really hard. I've had my fear of losing my current position quite a bit because of the Embracer Group stuff. But that's just the industry. But I would rather lose a job that I love doing than lose a job that I hated, if that makes sense. Like if I was like doing anything else and the store went under or whatever and I was out of work, that would probably piss me off way more than if I lost my job doing something that I love. You know, both suck, but I hope that makes sense. So I think, is that all the shared art pieces? Right.
Let me check the chat.
Oh yeah, Saber Interactive, yeah. Yeah, adios. I don't know if I'm mispronouncing that or adios, but yeah. Feeling mutual, man. I feel you. Yeah, I think that's everything, right? You got everything?
Looks like that.
Yeah.
Get to the back. Uh, someone's asking about feedbacks.
The rookies for feedback. 100%. They got a Discord channel. Very, very helpful people. Very nice people. That's where I hung out. I still check in every now and then, but I'm in that Discord server. TheRookies.com, I think, is just their straight website. I don't know.
Let me send the link.
Yeah, it's yeah .co. Okay, it's just like ArtStation. Set up another portfolio site on there if you're a student. Engage in the community. If you have time, take part in their challenges. They're usually very light, 1 or 2 week art challenges. Doing a texture challenge or a stylized piece, little things. It's just great to, vibe with other people that are starting out just like you. It takes away the stress of getting feedback from senior artists and all the, it's intimidating, but you're all working together. You're all sharing, your own artistic opinion, and you don't really feel the pressure of like, oh, you can't do that in the industry. And it's just like, well, the industry changes all the time. And when you're crunching on a project and like they want anything and everything to get done. So yeah. Yes, I do work remote. Yeah. It's that comes with challenges too. I worked IT, I was always in an office. COVID hit, that went remote. But working a studio remotely, it's good for me as I have a family, so it's great to actually still be connected with family. Whereas if I was in a studio working 10 hours, like I don't know if I'd ever see my kids. It'd be coming home late and all that stuff. Commuting, who knows what that's like, but work is nice. I highly recommend if you're starting out to try and get a remote gig, because I feel like that was less stressful for me. I was by myself, and no one really had any high demands or expectations or anything. I wasn't surrounded by a bunch of people just like staring at me. I was just like, okay, I'm just starting, and just turn my computer on, and that's it.
Good.
Did you have the choice to do remote or office, or was it only remote?
No, law school is a strictly remote only studio. They did actually survey to see if we would want to come and have an office hybrid environment. They're located in Madison, Wisconsin. So I personally don't really, I don't know. I would do either or. Well, now I would prefer remote because that's all I know. But yeah, some studios they allow you to start out remote and then come in. Infinity Ward was one that I was interviewing for, and they gave me an offer, and they said, "Okay, when can you come to California?" And I'm just like, "I thought this was remote." And they're like, "Oh yeah, but you know, we need you to come in. We need to see like how quickly we can get you." I was like, at the time we were just having our second born child, so I was just like, I ain't going anywhere for a while, you know. It's sorry, see ya. I can't do that.
Yes. Okay. Actually, we're getting closer to the end of the day's interview, so we can get one last question if anyone has, and if not, then yeah, basically that's it. Roy, thanks for coming and sharing all this stuff, your experience, your knowledge. Those are really priceless for us.
Yeah.
I mean,
One question pop in for
oh,
project
okay.
tools. Yeah, Miro is a good project management tool because you can collaborate a lot. Basecamp is another one that we use for collaboration and tracking progress. Jira is obviously the production one. Everyone knows Jira usually. But yeah, for us on the art side, it's Basecamp or using Miro boards to help create mood boards, collaborate. We can all share and stuff like that. But those are the two big ones.
Let me send the link for Mira as well. Maybe so.
Sure. Basecamp is more organizational led. Like that's more from the organization. So there's not really much to learn there unless they have it set up. But Miro, you can definitely start playing with. It's like PureRef, but a little bit more UI than PureRef. Yeah.
Yeah. So once again, thanks for coming, Ray. Thanks for sharing everything. Really appreciate your time.
Of course.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll be in touch. And yeah, guys, I think Ray will be okay if you send the LinkedIn connections, right?
Yes, yeah. If anyone wants to reach out, shoot me a message on ArtStation. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, all that stuff. It's all in my ArtStation. So yeah, don't hesitate to reach out. Any questions? I'll try to get back to you guys as fast as possible. Again, I am on winter break, so I'm gonna try and disconnect and just play some video games. But yeah, any questions? Don't hesitate. Don't be afraid to ask.
Oh,
Yeah, thank you,
Thank you a
Roy.
lot. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you, Roy.
Thanks for your time.
thanks.
Thank
Have a good
you.
night.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alibek.
Sure.
See you.
Bye, guys. Bye, Roy.
Later.